A Russian drone strike on Zaporizhzhia city in southeast Ukraine killed one person and wounded 7 others.
The European Parliament has rejected cuts proposed in the draft of the EU long-term budget for the period 2028-2034.
Austria won 3-1 over World Cup first time as Jordan. It is the first time since 1990 Austria won a World Cup game.
Lionel Messi clinched the World Cup all-time goal-scoring record after scoring his first-ever tournament hat-trick in Argentina's opening fixture against Algeria.
A Russian drone strike on Zaporizhzhia city in southeast Ukraine killed one person and wounded 7 others, emergency authorities said on Wednesday morning. Regional authorities said Russia carried out 5 strikes on the city, sparking fires and damaging civilian infrastructure. One of the strikes caused a large fire in a 3-story residential building, according to Ukraine's state emergency service. They added that emergency workers were forced to take cover several times as attacks continued during rescue operations. Russian strikes also hit the Sumy region, where several animals were killed after a riding school was hit, according to the head of the Sumy Regional Military Administration. Ukraine's Air Force said Russia attacked Ukraine with 119 drones overnight, of which 97 were intercepted. 20 drones were reported hitting 11 locations across Ukraine. The strikes came as G7 leaders prepared to begin their final day at a summit in Evian, where in a rare moment of convergence, the leaders endorsed a statement that reaffirms their support for Ukraine and its population.
A private yacht has reported that a Russian warship fired warning shots towards it south of the Isle of Wight, just outside British waters, according to a UK defence source who spoke to the news agency AFP. Britain's defence ministry said on Tuesday that the incident in the channel is being investigated. The source also noted that this is being treated as an isolated event and is not linked to the UK interception of a Russian Shadow Fleet tanker in the same part of the channel in the early hours of Sunday. Allegedly, the Russian Navy vessel fired the warning shots at a distance of approximately 500 meters. No injuries or damage were reported by the yacht, which continued its journey after a welfare visit by a vessel dispatched from a British Navy ship. According to further reports, another British Navy ship, HMS Mersey, was monitoring the Russian ship at the time of the incident.
The European Parliament voted on Tuesday to adopt the EU-US deal struck last summer by US President Donald Trump and European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen in Turnberry. The final green light needed to implement the agreement comes as Trump threatened on Monday to impose tariffs on French wine and champagne if Paris did not remove its digital tax on US big tech. The vote allows the EU to remove its duties on most US industrial goods, while Europeans commit to paying 15% US tariffs on goods exported to the United States. Since Trump has shown that he is willing to use tariffs as a coercive tool against European partners on issues unrelated to trade, EU lawmakers sought to introduce safeguards into the agreement to shield it from future pressure from the US administration. A sunset clause was introduced into the final agreement to end the trade deal on the 31st of March 2029, at which point Trump's term will be over unless it is renewed. MEPs also secured a provision allowing the Commission to suspend the trade agreement at the request of either Parliament or a member state if the US fails to lift tariffs on European steel and aluminium by the end of 2026.
The European Parliament has rejected cuts proposed in the draft of the EU long-term budget for the period 2028 and 2034. The Cypriot government presented a compromise text last week with the cuts of almost 33 billion euros to the bloc's budget. According to Parliament, the proposed cuts weaken an already inadequate budget.
Cypriot Council Presidency proposes to cut 1/3 of the allocation to agriculture and 1/4 of the allocation to cohesion. We as a Parliament strongly reject these cuts. we strongly reject the fact that the Council proposes a very, very low level, even below the already too low level proposed by the Commission to Agriculture and Cohesion.
In its proposal, the European Parliament requested a 10% increase in the budget. The negotiations began in July 2025 when the European Commission published its €2 trillion budget proposal. The Commission has outlined three main spending priorities: the Competitiveness Fund, Global Europe, and Horizon funds. EU leaders will discuss the long-term budget in Brussels this week.
A 6.7 magnitude earthquake shook part of Indonesia on Tuesday and was followed by strong aftershocks. The initial tremor caused strong shaking lasting more than a minute. No information on damage or casualties was immediately available. The quake was centered 46 kilometers southeast of Palu, the capital of the central Sulawesi province, and according to the U.S. Geological Survey, it struck at a depth of about 10 kilometers. Indonesia is crossed by several seismic faults, and earthquakes and volcanic activity are common. In January 2021, a magnitude 6.2 earthquake near the city of Mamuju on Sulawesi Island left at least 100 people dead and injured more than 1,000 others. The 2022 Qatar World Cup runners-up France opened their campaign against Senegal on Tuesday in New York, looking to clinch a vital 3 points to top their group and reflect strong form. The first half produced a goalless draw between the two sides, with neither able to capitalize and convert their chances. But 20 minutes into the second half, France pointman and Real Madrid superstar Kylian Mbappe was quick to pounce as he managed to give his side the lead with a slick finish from inside the box. It was less than 20 minutes later when PSG's Bradley Barcola was able to extend that lead, putting Les Bleus 2-0 up in the 82nd minute. Senegal was able to pull one back in the 95th minute of the game, breaking through a tight French defensive block. But it was quickly responded to as Mbappe, chasing an all-time World Cup goal-scoring record, managed to bag his second of the night, bringing his World Cup goal tally to 14, just one behind the all-time record of 15 held by Germany's Miroslav Klose. Reigning champions Argentina also took to the pitch on Tuesday, where they faced off against Algeria. The white and blue stripes, led by one of football's all-time greats, Lionel Messi, cruised comfortably past their opposition after Messi secured his first World Cup hat-trick, and with it edging past Mbappe to beat Klose's goal-scoring record by one. Two World Cup uncommon, Norway and Iraq, faced off for the final match of the day, with the Vikings, led by Manchester City striker Erling Haaland, pounding their way to a 4-1 victory. Haaland scored a brace in his World Cup debut, maintaining the top form he displayed in the qualifiers, which landed his nation a ticket to the tournament.
Austria have beaten Jordan 3-1 at the World Cup on Wednesday. The game marked Jordan's first World Cup and Austria's comeback after a 28-year absence. Austrian MEP Lukas Mandel has celebrated his country's victory.
It's an exciting morning from an Austrian perspective. It's the best start of the day you can have with this 3-1 win in a tough game in the beginning, in a thrilling game throughout the whole 90 plus 10 minutes. But what counts in the end is the result, and the result is very promising for the rest of the World Cup.
The Conservative MEP said it is normal dual citizens can choose which country they represent.
I think this is part of today's world, that even more and more people than ever before have more than one national identity due to their ancestors, due to their personal life story and so on. So it's absolutely fair enough that a player with, for example, Algerian roots like Luka Zidane, the son of Zinedine Zidane, would play for Algeria while his father played for France.
Drawing a parallel between sports and politics, Mandel, whose mother is originally Dutch and father is Austrian, reminded EU citizens who are not nationals of the member state they live in can still stand as a candidate in European Parliament elections.
On Thursday morning at 7 a.m. local time, Uzbekistan will wake up to a moment many football fans have waited years to see. The national team will play its first ever World Cup match against Colombia. Across the country, schools, parks and public spaces are being transformed into fan zones as supporters prepare to watch history unfold. Behind me, kids are doing what they always do here, playing football. But in a few days, this stadium will look very different. Chairs, mats, and a giant screen will turn it into one of 208 fan zones across Uzbekistan, where communities will gather to watch the national team play at the World Cup for the very first time.
Bu muxlislar maydonida birinchi navbatda o'qituvchilar, shu maktabda o'quvchilari, atrofdagi aholi bemalol kelib tomosha qilishi mumkin. Katta ekranlarda baribir katta ekranni shukuhi boshqacha bo'ladi. Sababi yerda o'sha ichki tuyg'ularni chiqarishda, do'stlarini yonida turib, ularni bag'riga bosib, minnatdorchilik va xursandchilikni chiqarishda o'ziga yarasha zavqi bo'ladi.
The anticipation is visible far beyond the fan zones. Flags, posters and images of the national team have appeared in shops, cafes and public spaces across the country. Among the symbols of this World Cup campaign is Bek, the official mascot of the Uzbekistan squad.
I think it will have a huge impact on kids, on the young population going into football.
Avvalo qatnashni o'zi katta yutuq. Bu birinchi marotaba chiqishimiz deb o'ylayman. Endi keyingi musobaqalarda yoki keyingi o'yinlarda yaxshi natijalar kutamiz. Avvalo Xudo xolasa birinchi natijamiz shu guruh bosqichidan chiqishini tilayman.
Support has also spread across social media. Content creators from across Central Asia have been posting messages of encouragement, backing the first team from the region ever to reach a World Cup. The wait is almost over. For decades, Uzbekistan watched the World Cup as spectators. On Thursday morning, for the first time, it will be part of it.